It happened 5 years ago. I had just moved into a new apartment after a rough breakup. I was 29, emotionally drained, and honestly just needed a place to restart. The apartment wasn't anything fancy, just a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor in an older building in a quiet part of town. But it felt peaceful. Quiet neighbors, no traffic, and rent that didn't kill me. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. I'd come home from work, eat dinner in front of the TV, and then scroll on my phone until I passed out. But about 3 weeks in, I started noticing something strange. It began with small sounds, not the usual creaks and groans of an old building, but something else, like breathing, very faint, and only at night. It wasn't coming from the vents. I checked. It wasn't the neighbors. I hardly ever heard them, and it always seemed to be coming from the hallway, right outside my bedroom door. At first, I told myself it was just in my head. Maybe I was still stressed from the breakup. Maybe I just needed sleep. But one night, the breathing got louder. I turned off the TV and sat up in bed. There it was, slow, shaky breathing just behind the door. My door was closed and locked. I didn't move. I just listened. And then, it stopped. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked the hallway. Nothing. No signs of anyone. I even checked the security camera at the entrance of the building. Nobody had come in or out during the night. Still, I started sleeping with my bedroom light on. 1 week later, things got worse. It was 2:43 a.m. I remember that exactly because I looked at my phone when I woke up to a loud thud, like someone had dropped something heavy inside my apartment. I grabbed the small metal flashlight I kept by my bed and walked slowly into the living room. Everything looked normal until I noticed my front door was unlocked, wide open. I swear I had locked it before sleeping. I always did. My chest tightened. I checked every corner of the apartment, every closet under the bed. Nothing. No one was there. But something was different. On the floor near the door was a single black glove. I didn't own any black gloves. I called the police. They searched the apartment, asked a bunch of questions, but found nothing. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry. They suggested maybe I forgot to lock the door, but I know I didn't. I changed the locks the next day. Then, 3 nights later, I saw him. I woke up needing to use the bathroom. As I stepped into the hallway, I caught a glimpse of movement near the door. I froze. There, standing behind my front door, half visible through the peephole glass, was a man. Not knocking, not moving, just standing there. Still. His face was mostly hidden, but I could see his eyes. They were open, staring straight into my apartment. I didn't make a sound. I backed away, heart pounding. I grabbed my phone, but before I could call anyone, I heard the door handle move. He was trying to come in. I screamed, banged on the walls, anything to wake the neighbors. But by the time they came out, he was gone. No one saw him leave, not even the hallway cameras. I moved out the next day. I don't know who he was or how long he'd been watching me, but to this day, I can't sleep in a room with the door closed. And I never ever leave my front door unlocked. Sometimes late at night when everything's quiet, I swear I can still hear that breathing. This happened to me back in 2017. I was 34, married, no kids yet. My wife and I had just bought a small house in the suburbs, peaceful neighborhood, big backyard, perfect for starting fresh. The kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. At least that's what we thought. The house needed a little work, mostly outside. So for the first few weeks, I'd spend evenings in the backyard fixing the fence, trimming trees, pulling weeds. Our yard bordered a small patch of woods. Nothing big, just a few trees separating us from the next street over. The first time I noticed something strange, I was out there alone. It was around 9 p.m., just getting dark, and I was putting away tools when I heard a whisper. It was soft, like someone speaking from far away. I paused, looked around. Then it came again. Hey, a slow, shaky whisper, definitely from the trees. I called out, hello? No response. I stood there a moment, listening. Nothing but crickets. I laughed it off and went inside, thinking it was probably a kid or just my imagination. But the next night it happened again. Same time. Same place. Help me. This time it was clearer. A woman's voice. Quiet, but desperate. I froze, flashlight in hand, and shined it toward the trees. Nothing. My wife came out to check on me. I told her what I heard. She looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Babe, it's probably just a fox or something." I nodded, even though deep down, I knew it wasn't an animal. Still, I didn't want to scare her. So, I said nothing more. But the voice kept coming. Every night, sometimes louder, sometimes fainter, and always the same phrase, "Help me, please." By the fourth night, I was losing sleep. I decided to go into the trees and see where it was coming from. It wasn't a big area, just 20 or 30 feet of brush before the neighbor's fence. I grabbed a flashlight and headed in. As I walked between the trees, I noticed something odd. There were small pieces of cloth tied to branches. Old, faded, like someone had marked a path. I followed them. Then I found it. A shallow pit covered in leaves and sticks, maybe 3 feet wide. And in the middle of it, a small rotting teddy bear. I felt sick. I turned around, ready to get out of there. And that's when I heard it. Loud, clear, right behind me. "Don't leave." I spun around, shining my flashlight everywhere. Nothing, no one, just me and that damn bear. I ran back to the house. I didn't stop. I locked the door, shut the curtains, and tried to calm down. My wife asked what happened, but I couldn't even explain it properly. I just told her, "Something's wrong out there." That night, we didn't sleep. The next morning, I called the police. Told them I found something strange in the woods behind my house. They sent an officer out. I showed him the pit. They ended up sending a team. Hours later, they found bones. Human bones. Not fresh. Years old. Turns out a girl had gone missing in the area nearly a decade earlier. Never found. They matched the remains to her a few weeks later. Her name was Ashley. They said it was probably some runaway case or maybe foul play. But no one had ever searched the woods behind our property before. And the whispering? It stopped after that night. We moved out 3 months later. Not because we were scared, but because we couldn't live with the feeling that someone, or something, had been trying to tell us the truth. Every now and then, I still dream about that voice. Software sad. Help me. I used to travel a lot for work. Hotel rooms, airports, rental cars. It all became routine after a while. But one trip back in 2019 still haunts me. I was 42 at the time, working for a consulting firm. We had a 2-day project in a small town in Pennsylvania. Quiet place, barely any traffic, barely any people. The company booked me a room at an old roadside motel just outside town. You know the kind. Flickering neon sign, single floor, faded paint. I didn't care. I was just there to sleep and leave. The guy at the front desk was an older man, quiet, barely looked at me. He handed me the key and said, "Room 103, last one on the right." I said thanks and started walking toward the room. As I passed the other doors, I noticed something strange. Room 102 was boarded up. Not just closed, boarded up. With wooden planks nailed over the windows and the door. Like something out of a horror movie. Weird, but I shrugged it off. Probably just under renovation or something. I got to room 103 and opened the door. It smelled old, musty, like a basement that hadn't been opened in years. The wallpaper was peeling, the carpet stained, and the TV was one of those old boxy ones. But whatever, it was just for a night. I unpacked, took a quick shower, and laid down to scroll through emails. Around 11 p.m., I turned off the lights and tried to sleep. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock. 2 soft knocks from the wall behind my bed, the wall that connected to room 102. I sat up, heart starting to race. Maybe someone was working on the room. Maintenance, but at night. I waited. Knock, knock. Again. This time, slower, closer. I got up and pressed my ear against the wall. Silence. Then clear as day. I heard a whisper. "Don't look." I jumped back. I hadn't imagined it. It was real. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight and checked the wall. Nothing there. No holes, no vents. just old wallpaper and chipped paint. I called the front desk. The same old man answered. I told him what I heard, that maybe someone was in the boarded-up room. There was a pause. Then he said, "No one's in room 102. "But I heard something," I said. "Knocking, whispering." Another pause. Then he said, "Stay in your room. Don't open the door, and whatever happens, don't talk back." He hung up. I stood there frozen. What the hell was going on? And then, knock, knock, knock. This time it wasn't from the wall. It was from the door. Slow, steady knocks, 3 of them. I stepped toward the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there, but I heard breathing, right outside. I backed away slowly. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. I thought about calling the police, but something told me it wouldn't help. Then I heard it again. "Please, just open the door." A woman's voice, software shaky, right on the other side. I didn't move. Then, bang! A loud crash, like someone throwing themselves at the door. I screamed, grabbed my bag, and rushed to the bathroom, locking myself inside. I stayed there the entire night. No sleep, just silence, and that feeling that someone or something was waiting. By morning, it was quiet. I came out slowly. The room looked the same. The door was still locked, but the peephole was broken, shattered from the outside. I grabbed my stuff and ran to the front desk. The old man was gone. In his place was a younger woman, maybe in her 30s. I told her what happened. She looked at me with wide eyes and said, "You were in 103? I nodded. She sighed and said, "They weren't supposed to book anyone there." I asked why. She said, "Years ago, a woman was staying in room 102. Her ex-boyfriend found her and he killed her. Right there. People said her spirit never left. They shut the room down. But ever since then, whoever stays next door hears her. Sometimes she knocks. Sometimes she whispers. But if you talk back, she doesn't stop." I checked out immediately. I haven't stayed in a roadside motel since. Sometimes, when I wake up in a hotel now, I still check the walls for knocking. And if I hear even the faintest sound, I don't respond.